Okay, so let us get started. So let us share screen. Okay, so just to revise from what we did yesterday, we created these folders. We created a folder called as project, and under this, we created these folders. These folders were created based on our initial design discussion where we split into modules and we created this. This helps us to keep code in such a way that we do not, mix up things, and uh, we can take it part by part and use it whenever we want. And it also helps in testing, unit testing, and such things. So that is the reason maintainability, scalability, debuggability, observability, all these are non-functional requirements. This helps us to maintain the code over the period of time and help to develop quicker. So that's the basic idea why we did this. And we were talking about news module where we can fetch news from different places. So yesterday we wrote this part of code, get news. So this is just an interface, and we are trying to write this particular uh, function, which is getting called via this. So just two lines of code initially, and then we inserted one line of code here. So today we'll learn how do we realize that in code whatever we discussed yesterday. So we discussed about how HTTP works and what is REST API and what is REST do. Remember that HTTP is a protocol, and on top of that, REST API is an architecture. It is a state server, uh, stateless uh, stateless architecture at the server level. So it's server stateless server, something like that. So what it means is one of the examples I gave you. Servers doesn't want to remember, or servers do not have to remember the client's state of execution or the flow, or it doesn't cache anything. So that is the idea behind one of the idea behind REST APIs. And the response and the requests can go in JSON format. So it helps process to process communication, inter-process communication across the network. So instead, I was giving an example about Amazon. Anybody who wants to scale their product, they will break components into different parts, put into different servers, and then get response based on this. The processes themselves talk to each other and then give us in a correct sequence, and get the work done. Okay, so let us learn about so how do we extract news. So I'll just go show you here. So this is a request library for uh, we use in Python. So it does what it does is it shoots a request to the server. Here in this case, here it is api.github.com, and then it goes to that particular user thing, whatever it is hosted. So if we get a response, and with that response, we can play around that. So let us do that, and then understand. So this is just okay. This is an example. So I am trying to take a URL from Wikipedia. Because it's quite simpler, it doesn't have any ads, and then we can extract the news, whatever the URL we can give, and we can do that. So, okay, no, sorry, not the Wikipedia. So this comes in sort of a XML format. So I want to show you the responses in JSON format. So we will use requests. Of course, request words, it can get anything, but we'll try the simple ones, which is news API. So you can register to this news API if you want to do. And there is a developer account where you can, I think you can do 1,000 requests or something like that. So there is a limit, but yeah, it is good for us. We can learn and learn how things work and etc. So for any API to be used, so if you develop a server on your own, so you need to have some sort of authorization and authentication, right? So that comes part of uh, whether to give an access, and if you give access to the website, and what else, what can he or she access. So that is sort of an authorization. So it's like you are an employee of some company. You can get into a company, but probably you cannot go into some places like labs, different teams, and so on. So that is authentication is, of course, the main gate security allowed you to enter the secure premises, which is like you are authenticated, you are an authorized person to get into campus. But in order to get into some places, you need authorization. So it's like that's the difference between authentication and authorization. Okay. So what is an API key? API key is related to uh, it's like it's like username and password. So generally we enter username and password, right? So this is sort of you know sort of a string which gives us access. It checks whether this guy is there, and you can access that. So there are different methods to authenticate. So one of them is this API, using API key. So we can read about all the authentication types. So that's a different topic altogether. But remember that this gives us an access to this. Since I have registered, so you can create an API key and you can access that. So generally, an API will have these
Jitan,
parts.
sorry, I just have a question.
Sure, yeah, please.
Um, so if in general, let's say if we have to scrape any other
Yeah.
websites, right? Do we need this API key everywhere, or is it just the websites where authentication is required?
Yeah, that's a good question. So, whatever you can access publicly without logging in, like Wikipedia, like Google News, Google Search, these are you don't have to log in to use it, right? So, such things you can, you know, whatever you can access without any logging in, such things you can easily access. But if there is some logging in, for example, your Gmail, you need to log in, right? So, in such cases, uh, you need to be authenticated and authorized. So in order to access that, either you excuse me, either you need username and password. With username and password, you can also generate API keys as well. So in such cases, you need. So that's like restricted access has this API key. Did I answer your question?
Yes.
Okay. So let us learn about the structure of URL. So as I was telling, HTTP is the protocol. So this is what you see HTTPS. S stands for secured. There are other protocols as well. You might have heard about FTP. FTP is a file transfer protocol. It has same structure. You can download a file, URL to the file, say dot some zip, and file will get downloaded. So FTP is just for file transfer protocol. HTTP is similar protocol, but it is for hypertext. So hypertext is whatever you see. For example, it has different font, it has a different color, so it has links and so on. So it's a text which is like hyperactive sort of thing. So it's hypertext. Okay, so the structure of URL is this. One is your protocol, this thing. So your browser hides it, but if you double click here, it'll open this. So on your browser, you can see only this news API.org. You can in fact take this and paste it here. Sometimes your the client code doesn't show the complete URL sometimes, so it just shows the main thing. But we do not usually observe this unless we want to. So whatever gets served is based on the request that you have sent. So HTTPS or HTTPS, this is like that server name actually. So this server name, as you know, there is one server is just a computer which has a port open to um, serve some data, and here there could be some backend, there could be some database or some data which has some code sitting here which accesses this database or data and then gives back based on this. Once you hit this server, so you are trying to access something here. So how do I access particular things? Or for example, this the rest of the URL says that this is the locator, just like folders, right? Like slash home slash something and live slash somethings. Similarly, it has this. So this is why it's called as a resource locator. This is like a folder name, and then you can see that there is queue here and then some parameters. So these are called query parameters. So this is all coming from the protocol itself, HTTP protocol. So they define where are these protocols defined. So there are websites which host actually these guys are coming from computer science background and scientists and such scholars. They meet up and they define the protocol which helps to run the internet. So there could be some people in your company like Cisco, um, uh, like uh, um, like big companies. So they have their architects, principal architects. They are also part of that forum. So industry scientists, they come together and make these sort of protocols. Okay. So that is how the protocols get generated. You can actually search for like uh, this particular protocols specifications. I think it is IETF or something like the Internet Task Force, something like that. Those guys define this, and for like mobile phones and like 3G 4G, those guys are 3GPP standards. So they would define telecom protocols similarly, like just like HTTP. Okay. So okay, coming back to this, so that is where the query is coming from, and you can see that there are once you have a query, query is equal to Apple, and or like you can add more queries from this date to this date. So this can be anything depending on the query parameters are defined at like server, but once it is queue, and then you can give any just like any variables x is equal to y is equal to something. So that is what they are doing from, and sort by these are all variables, and you can also give like API key uh, as one of the query parameters. So in this website, query parameter is part of API key is part of query parameter. So not every time it will be like this. You can servers can also define uh, you know this API key is sent to be as part of input parameters in the request itself. This is this request URL. So yesterday we saw that request URL has a lot of other things, right? So you can also send parameters using this one. So let me just show you. Uh, View inspect, and you can see network, and let me refresh so that I can show you. Okay, let us take some thing here. Let me just clear this. Take clear all drawings. Um, you can see this is the request that it has gone. So yeah, this is part of HTML, I guess, buy and sell ads, whatever. Um, Part of like ads. So you can see request URL, and this is the method. We discussed about method yesterday, and this is the response headers. You can also see request headers here. So this is not part of URL directly here. This is part of request headers. So this protocol has one is your URL. You can actually send probably like q is equal to something. You can code it like that, or else you can also where did it go? Refreshed. Okay. Let me show you something else. It's a similar thing. So response headers is one thing, and there is request headers as well. So response is from response. This is request headers. You can actually embed your request parameters here as well. So, and then you can send it. So there are two ways of sending it, depending on how server is, you know, coded, or server is hosting it. So this is one way. So this is just a simple way to show, do it. So here, like, API key is part of your URL. In fact, this is a security problem, because imagine that you are using Gmail here, and you are sending API key on the URL itself, because it's part of query parameter, which is part of this URL. So somebody can actually take this API key and use your Gmail. So that is the reason that API keys are generally authentication authorization information is sent using these parameters. So that depends on how you have coded it. But yeah, so that is the overall idea. So that's query parameters, and that is API key. Okay. And then let us just shoot the request. So I have copied the same thing here, same URL, whatever we saw. And there is a library called as requests, and it is just as simple as using requests get and URL. And I have put a breakpoint so that I can stop the execution and show you what is in there. Okay. So you need to pip, pip install requests. So if it's not there, it will get installed. I already have it. So yeah, it says that it's already satisfied. Requirements are already satisfied. So let me just run this. I'm not calling any of this. So even though this gets hit, it doesn't get run because I'm not calling these functions. Okay. So these are the three lines I have added um, just now. So now it's
Digant, one quick question.
sure.
Uh, you given the URL link, right?
Yes.
So what if I want to use any API, and what if I want to test like whether that API is returning any data or not? So I see somewhere like a 200 code, right? So
Right.
which means like successful.
Correct.
So how we handle like in real time, like they use like this, or they use some API calls?
Yeah. This is actually an API. This is an
Oh,
API.
this is okay.
This is
Okay.
an API. So this is API. API is
Okay.
nothing but URL, and then from here the actually what we call, okay, there is a term called as endpoints.
Yes.
So
Yes.
this is the endpoint. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
like, because this endpoint. So generally, when say you have a vendor, and they provide you APIs,
Mm-hmm.
they do not include this as part of your endpoints. This they call as endpoint.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, this is the base URL. So base URL, and this is the protocol. So this is
Mm-hmm.
like by default it's there. So endpoint means I have to use this particular thing and slash this.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, this is an API actually. So
Okay. Okay.
and let us
Yeah.
I have
Continue.
executed this, and let us understand what's happening here. So this is your just a variable. It's a string, um, which is now a URL. So import requests, second line, and then third line is request dot get. So where is this? Why I have used request dot get? Because you remember yesterday we discussed about four of functionalities, or four functions or operations on top of HTTP. HTTP defines these things, right? One is get, put, patch, and delete. Get is for read. In say if you want to translate to DB, this one, then this is like read, like select star something. That's a read. Put is write a new entry. Patch is update the entry. So similarly in SQL, you'll have update and um, you know I think insert. Yeah, correct. Insert, update, and delete is delete. So yeah, so you have these four functionalities. So these are the only few operations that you can do on any data, right? So that is the reason we have used get, because we are just reading it, we are not updating it. So if I'm a admin, somewhere I am admin of this particular news api.org, who is the guy who is fetching the news and updating it. So he will be probably using request.put because he has to create entry in DB. So if there is a change in news, or if there is some update that he needs to do on top of that news, he will use requests.patch. So these are the functions which are in line with this. So
Just out of curiosity,
sure, yeah,
if you when you are coding it, right,
right,
you not being an admin,
yeah,
if you say request.put now,
yeah.
what happens? How do they restrict your
Right, yeah. Let us do that. So I'll just explain and then do that and show you what happens. Okay, so I'll just get out here and so I put a breakpoint. It's waiting for so I think we used PDB, but we didn't go deep. But PDB is a simple tool. You put a breakpoint, so it's like stopping the execution, not stopping. It's like pausing the execution. What it helps us to do is, so there are some commands you can see in help. So these are the commands and shortcuts. So let me run just L. L is nothing but listing. So it tells where is the code currently. So this arrow mark tells, okay, I'm here. Okay. So if you had more code here, it will show here, a couple of lines here. So I can also say print the variables. If I do URL, it says that okay, this is my. So this helps us to debug. So let us see what is there in response. You can see response. So it is coded to print um, 200. So the server, somebody who has written the object to parse this response, now has written code to print the status code here. So that is how you see. So what are the things inside this response? Let us see. So we know dir function, right? Inbuilt function response. So this is what it has inside functionalities of this response. So this particular object has these functionalities or attributes. So URL text, status code, raw reason, next, all of this. Okay. So let us take. So now we know that it returns JSON. So whenever you use the API, right? So you will know its output. So or else you'll have to, you cannot randomly use any API because you know that okay, this is where I need to get fetch something. And okay, this is the output. So if it is since we know from this response it is a JSON, because I'm studying this API and I'm using it. So let us do response dot JSON. Okay. You can see that I got some response here. Response is already gotten. So, but we are trying to access something here. So let us try. So if you just try to read this, you cannot do it. So in order to analyze this, how to go about analyzing is, so you can see that these flower brackets and square brackets, right? So this will give you a fair idea about what does flower bracket mean or curly braces mean. It means it's a dictionary, right? So that is what we studied in data types. So we can immediately recognize looking at these braces. And within the dictionary, there is some list. And again, there is some probably dictionaries inside it. So we do not know what is inside exactly, but this is like rough idea. So let me just go here and response dot. Since it's a dictionary, I'm going to use keys, which will return keys. The response doesn't have, but dot JSON is what we need to use because that's what be printed. JSON. So in fact, you can store this the response.json in a variable and do this, but you can also access it like it's like object inside the object. So you can easily use this becomes an object, and within that object there is uh, one more function. So you can keep using it like this as well. So you can see that keys are status, result, total results, and articles. Let us see. Okay, this is about the actual data. So you can also look at it as raw data. So this is just a string. So whatever you are communicating with server, it is actually a raw string that you are getting. So this is a raw data that it is actually publishing this, but requests has got code where you can transform this string data into a JSON data. So that is why we are able to access this using JSON. So this is nothing to do with the protocol. This is how they have coded inside the request library. That is why we are able to access. So now we have got access to this news. So this is the case. Now we are trying to understand the structure. So let me just clear annotation and start with new annotation. So by looking at this, what we can make out is, okay, this particular response at the top level, it has these things: status, total results, and articles. These are the top level. So root level. So if I just take status or total results and articles, there could be more data inside that. So let us look at one of them. Say let us look at total uh, results, and then draw a mental picture. So I can use the same thing. Clear this. Keys. So this is a dictionary, right? We already know that this is a I can use it like this. So this complete thing is a dictionary .json. So within this there is these keys. So that is how we just printed the keys in the dictionary. So I can take this say total results, let's say, and Control V, and let us look at what's happening. So you can see that total results has this, and let us see if there is any more data here. Obviously it's not there because it's just a integer or a string which got printed. So if it was a dictionary, it would have printed saying this is a DICT of class of DICT, and it would have printed like that. So it's not it's like end of the tree. So total results we have seen. Let us look at status. So this status is okay. So this is not the HTTP response status. This is a status from the data part of the request. So if you want to mentally so this status code is different. This 200 okay status code is different. What we are seeing is in the response somewhere here, the response data. This is response data inside that. So response is a different section in the protocol, you know, entire protocol. So this is inside that, this particular status. So we are, because we are trying to play around with the data part of the response. So how do you see the status code is like this. So when you printed, you saw this. You can also see like using status code, I think. So this is the status code, which is right here. This one. This status code is a protocol level status code. So this is different from this. So this is somebody has written a code to in the server that okay, this is the status that you have. So do not get confused, but it could be, it couldn't be, no, it's also possible that this is not there. So this guy who has written this particular website, he has written such a way that, so this is status is equal to, okay, total is 2048. That is what we did here. And you can also access the list of articles similarly using articles. Okay. So this is how we got list of articles. Now you can see that this is a list because it is ending with square braces. And then let us loop through, get at one element from this list. So this is list, you can actually store in a variable, but let me get the first element of that. So you can see that first article, which is like in a 0th position. So this is the article, and yeah, it has not printed entire thing. So yeah. So it tells that there are more characters. Now you can, if you want to programmatically go and get the text or the description of the news, this is where it is there. So if you want to draw a mental picture of what we did of this, so if you want to write a code for this particular thing, you can actually do it like, okay, you got a response, okay, and then you have got three elements in that at the beginning, which is one of them is like status, and one of them is what was that number of articles, I think article list or something like that, I forgot, list of articles. Another thing is this particular thing, articles. Okay, sorry, not here, here. Okay, state, I think this is number of articles. So yeah, I forgot because yeah, it's up there. Okay. This is number of articles. Okay, let me just redraw it so that it avoids confusion. Okay, this is, I think, number of elements, I think, and this is where your articles are hidden. Articles. So this is your mental picture. Now this is the tree structure, right? So that is what we learned in the JSON. JSON is like you are representing some sort of tree structure. Even you can do this using XML as well, but XML is not part of, in REST APIs, we do not use XMLs. REST API generally uses JSON. You know why we do not use XML? That is because we have a lot of tags. So imagine that there is tag for every 2 tags for this ID, and there is also overhead of these characters. So you're basically downloading more data. So that is the reason we are using JSON in REST API. So this is articles, and under this articles, so there are many of them. So many articles, and the first element, which is 0th element, is what we have printed here. This is hidden here. Okay. So how do I get into that particular exact news is under this, there is a description, which is nothing but here. So if you want to get the description, so if you are writing code to get description of all the news, top news, and printing it somewhere, or sending a mail or sending a notification, uh, and probably you want to get hold of this as well. So maybe not author, title and description, let us say. So at this level, so description and the title are in the same level, title here. So you want to parse it from here. So that is what we did now. We did dot JSON, which is this one, which gives us this response complete data in JSON format. And we did find out the keys, which are these nodes. And if we had to, if the requirement was to just notify the users with uh, title, title and description. So you are using your mobile phone and some app pops you this news. So these two are the items that have caught hold of under articles, description and title. So I can write code. So if I want to extend this code, I would be writing exact same code. So for element, or for I, you can use for element in all this news, which is request response dot json dot items. So I'll get this. So you can simply take this and you can write a for loop saying that these are the articles. So let us do that. So you'll get an idea. So now you have got a mental picture, right? So it's a tree structure, and you're trying to do that. So this is like a playground. In fact, you can do this better. You can use uh, Jupyter notebooks. I'll get out of this PDB so that I can write code. So Jupyter notebook is like, you can use that as a playground. Like you can play around with snippets. So it's not there. Why not installed? Okay, let it install. So I'll write some snippet here. So now we know this is where the articles are hidden. So I have just taken first article here. So how do I loop through this? So let me just uh, take make a variable called as article. So this is where all the articles are hidden now. So I'll loop through this. So it's nothing but for say article. So use neat names so that it helps us to read for in articles. And let me just, so we wanted, say, let us just print the title first. Print um, article. Within the article, there is title. And let me run this. Yeah, now you can see that there is a list that we have got. Let me just print some hyphens so that it's easy to read. The breakpoint, that is why it is stopping there. So let me get rid of this. I'll run it one more now. You can see that, okay, these are the titles of these articles. In fact, you can do the get it's like this, and we understood that title, and what was that? Is it text or description or something? That's description.
Description.
So you can print it like this. You can see that this is the headline, the small. So this is I think Mandarin or something, but you can. So let us take this example. This is the title, and this is our description. So in order to work with APIs, you need to know the structure, right? So that is how, so one of the reasons I'll show you something interesting. So whenever guy who is written code for this server, right, he would generally publish documentation. So that documentation is called as an API documentation. So there are several libraries which can generate the documents automatically for different frameworks. So there are several frameworks in Python like Flask, Django, Fast API, yeah, and so on, which where you can create your own server and you can host it. We will try to do that exercise on next week. But idea is the documentation should be available if you are providing APIs. So you can see that this is there is something called as Swagger Hub. So Swagger is a term used. It's an open source software where there is this sort of format it gives you. You can use Swagger library and then make it available like this, because this is a so when you see this page, you can easily understand that okay, these are the APIs. So I was talking about endpoints, right? See, it doesn't have that particular complete URL. It is just the endpoint slash something. So this is a weather forecasting weather.apis documentation. So you can read it like this. Some initially, before the Swagger hub was written, before that people were writing text saying that this is my endpoint, and so on, and what is the input and what is the output, what you can expect. But now we have frameworks that automatically generate this. So let us just take a look at this. This is an endpoint. So we understood what is Q is nothing but a query parameter. I have not signed in or got a API key. That is why it is not allowing me to do this. But this is just to understand. It also tells these are the expected responses. The response when you get this code. This is an example value. We can also look at model, which is like a JSON. This one. So this is how the API documentation looks like generally. So 400 is this, and so on. So all these codes and corresponding responses will be coded by the server guy who is coding that. So to answer your question, let me just try to use put here, and let us see what happens. Let us take this response, copy, paste here. Ideally, it should not allow me. So let's see what's happening. It's jumping. Why is it coming? Oh, yeah, okay. It was not saved. Okay. So you can see that response is different than what we are expecting. So it was initially 200, right? So 200 is like get okay, or everything is phone. So what does this 4005 mean? So you don't have to remember. So let us see. How do you search? Here, go here. First. HTTP codes 405. So yeah, this is from Gemini. You can also see 405 is method not allowed. So all these are like defined. You can if you write a server code, you can return the response. So that is why it's giving 405. It says method not allowed. So somebody who has written the code has restricted these operations on top of his API. So this is not allowed for this API. Okay, so that is how it works. I hope I have answered your question. So any questions in this uh, request, API requests, and etc. So yeah, the main thing to understand is any API that you use, you should read the documentation. It's like we how did we start using response module, right? So sorry, requests module, right? We looked at request library here. We studied request library. uh, so how to use and so on. We looked at the documentation. We understood that these are the functions. So like make a request, and since we are I'm used to use do this. So I know that get is for getting reading, post is for this, and this are this. So these are a few more options in that. So these are just to get the headers and options in the request. But yeah, these are the four things you need to remember, like for read, write, update, and delete operations. So how did I learn this? Looking at the documentation. So similarly, this is like a function call, right? So I learned about functions about this model. Somebody has written request library, and within that he has exposed, or he has written interfaces called as sorry, get, post, and so on. So this is also written by somebody else. He has exposed the APIs to you, and you need to, in order to parse it, this is an organized format. So in order to get certain data from these certain parts, you need to understand what is the response, what is the input, what is allowed, what is not allowed. This is your API documentation. From this, I'm able to do this. So that is about like requests. This is one of the ways. This is an organized. How do you, if the website, if you're doing a general scraping, this is not general scraping. This is looking for particular element or particular data using the API. We'll also look at general scraping in just a while. So any questions here? Any questions in terms of
So
concept?
meaning
Yeah.
if there is no API
Yeah.
available, we won't be able to fetch anything
In the
using this
sense,
method, right? For example, let's say I'm trying to build a, I mean, it's like a case study, right? So
okay.
let's say I'm trying to fetch something from NAC every day, right?
Okay.
End of day, the data.
Hmm.
If NAC hasn't provided an API, I won't be able to.
Yes, you cannot.
Okay.
You cannot. But if it is, you cannot do this. If it's an open, like if it's a generic website, like you can simply, if you are able to see the data, like this is how you're able to see the data, right? So like you hit the URL and text has come. So how the browser has formatted it, its source code is here. Actually, this is what it downloaded when you hit that. So this is using browser. You can also do it on command line. So you might have heard about curl, right? So curl is a command to um, download things. Hits, curl is actually like, you can think of it as a uh, you know, br- similar to, so browser has multiple levels. So first thing it does is downloading the content that is served by server. So curl does the same thing. Curl is CURL. So it is like command line URL. You can send the same thing here. So let us, you can actually do it. So it will, there is certain format in curl, but you can use the same thing like curl. Instead of this dot get, it has different ways to get it. So curl hyphen get or something like that. So there is a way to use it. You can read about curl here. So curl also does the same thing. See you. I don't know why does it work on curl. So yeah, there are some examples you can look at, like curl examples. So this does the same thing that that the browser does. This is one of the steps that the browser does. So you can simply copy paste it and see that the same HTML what we saw on the browser is downloaded here on your command line. It just prints. So if you had to write your own browser on top of this, you can actually take the output and write it and nicely format it. So that is how in the backend it works. So coming back to your question, so if there is a website and if it doesn't have API, uh, and there is a authentication that is required, so you cannot get the data in this proper format. But you can get the data in this HTML format because you can access it easily. So this is one of the ways that on the command line you can use it. In Python, there is also called, same thing can be done using, there's a library called as Beautiful Soup. So that library helps us to get the same response, and it has XML built into that because this is like an HTML, right? So it has HTML, XML libraries built into it. You can actually use that to scrape the website. So for example, I put some code already here to show how Beautiful Soup works. So this this part you understood, right? You're accessing via request library, which is on top of HTTP, and then um, this is a JSON response. The guy who has written code for News API, he has exposed REST APIs. He has written some code, and that is why you're able to see in a structured format. Now, unstructured format, but unstructured in the sense that not a REST API. This is also structured, like the response that you got here is also structured, the HTML response, but it's difficult to understand where is what, because there are hyperlinks, there is images, and there are so many things that there are JavaScripts which can spawn its own links and stuff like that. So let us look at Beautiful Soup snippet. So I have written small piece of code here. So this Wikipedia main page, so now we understood the reason that we are able to write the code is because we understood the structure, right? So in order to use uh, Beautiful Soup parses it, but we need to tell it what to look for. So in a tree, so I want to fetch all the news, or I do not know where it is, like in which level the news is there, or the data that I'm trying to extract. I do not know where it is. So Beautiful Soup has some sort of searching in the searching in that tree, and it helps us to not to worry about going and getting ourselves. Like for example, there is Wikipedia page, and then imagine that there are multiple structure like this. Probably here it is some article for today, something like that, and maybe what happened at this date, some data here, and probably news is somewhere here. So in order to get hold of this news, you need to understand the structure. So this makes us to, developers to, think harder to get here. And also it's possible that Wikipedia guy will change this tree structure. Probably tomorrow there is a change in his code, and people say that from the design, okay, this is not efficient, let us put this news somewhere in here. So imagine that you have written code yourself, going to that XML tree using say LXML library, or I think there is also the XML library called as XML, I guess, XML tree, I think. So there are multiple libraries, so you can try to use that. Then you need to know the structure, this structure, and now you know that, okay, this is where the news is hiding. I loop through for loop from the head and get that elements and so on. So I don't know how many loops I need to write for this, right? And if the code changes at server level, the structure changes, and you will have to like rewrite all the for loops again. So which is a headache, right? So that is the problem which Beautiful Soup solves for us. Beautiful Soup sort of searches through particular tags, or yeah. So if I want to search for news, I'll tell it to search for news tag, no matter where it is in the XML, it will give me the output. Let me show you that and how simple it is. So yeah, so Beautiful Soup. Now we understood how the code structure is there, right? So we import some libraries, and then let us understand what's happening. So this we did right here as well is the same thing, request.get. Um, and yeah, these are some additional checks. If it is 200 only, then go and parse it. So here is where I'm trying to use the response that I have got from requests. So we saw that response.content returns a string. Similarly, text also returns in a text format. So in a not in a raw string. So it gives us so input for this particular beautiful soup. You can see the documentation here. It says that etc etc whatever, and then what is the input? It takes the text, and you also have to tell what is the parser that you need to use. There are several parsers. So this is one of the parsers that it uses. You can write your own parser and feed it to beautiful soup, but that people don't do it, right? So this is one of the parsers. You can send that, okay, this parse this text using this particular parser. This is also inbuilt in beautiful soup. So this is like default parser. Okay. And this is the outcome that we get. And I can say, get me all the news. So I can go to that page title, and then it is trying to find something, right? So it goes to that particular div. If you go to this XML format here, and you can search. It's a different page, I guess. Wikipedia main page. Yeah, so let us just imagine that this is what we have. So let me try to paste this directly. Copy and paste it here. And look at its page source. It goes through this div. So there could be several divs. You can see that there are like at least 395. So if you divide by half, because there is also n closing braces, so there are several of them. So now somehow I know by looking at this source HTML format, I know that the news could be hiding in IDs of MP10 somewhere like that. Or in fact, I can search for this as headlines. So I'm trying to find where is the news in this. It's not there, probably got redirected. Okay, anyways, so you have a structure and you need to know where it is. So uh, yeah, you can research on this. Take this URL, download using curl, or you can download the response, which is exactly the same thing, and you can search it. So I did that exercise, and then okay, this is the purpose. So basically, you're trying to find where is the news and catching hold of that uh, uh, news. You can see that soup.find is the one which finds all the nodes. So like, it remembers, you don't have to like go level by level like we did it here. So this is JSON, and then we went to articles, and then we went to title. So you don't have to go through that pain. So you know the structure, and you can say, okay, under this, go here and find all of them. So there are several other functionalities as well in Beautiful Soup. You can search for a certain text and so on. So you can read Beautiful Soup's documentation. So these are all repeated patterns, right? So there are easy functions to find out things. So you can, in fact, you can take list of websites here, put it in a loop, or you can write a code to source all the say websites that you need, you are interested, say job like naukri.com, Indeed, etc., LinkedIn. You can take that, and if you put right authentication details and shoot the response in a loop. You can get all the data in a format, and then you can search for job openings, and then you can put it in a table. So that is what people who aggregate this job news, etc., they do this. They if they're using Python, so they use probably they use beautiful soup, and then they do it. So this is just exactly same thing that we did it here, but this is like little bit unstructured, and this is not documented anywhere. Nobody is giving you the difference between this HTML parsing and the JSON parsing we did is this guy has published his documentation. So whenever you talk about REST APIs, there will be a documentation. But this is like searching in a forest. So just get whatever you want and try to find out. Probably the structure of the forest will change. So you never know. So this is not documented. So this is why it is called as scraping. So it is not uh, parsing for a particular. It's not an orderly parsing. So you search
So
something and
basically, that's API and JSON, and this is purely scraping. You're scraping
correct. Yeah, this
the
is purely
data on the
scraping. Yeah,
HTML.
yeah. So for your question, so if that web say NSE or BSC, whatever this, you can actually go there and pick that up. In fact, those uh, uh, trading houses or the market, those guys have the APIs, paid APIs. That is why you can see the tickers for particular stocks and these things. Those guys have the APIs already. So that is why on your mobile phones, if you are trading, the reason that you are able to see the ticking this one is they have written that REST APIs, and you are able to see it in real time.
I know we are out of time. I just had another
Oh yeah,
question.
yeah,
If you go back to the previous example,
sure,
you pulled both titles and the description.
right.
Um, the output, how do we make it look or put it in a tabular format,
Yeah.
Jagant?
So what you can do is you can catch hold of this as variables. Like say, I can take this as I can make a dictionary. So in this particular example, you may not you don't have to do the dictionary. You can in fact say list of news. I can do something like list of news, and this is just the list, and I can either collect it in this variable using say append and article title and article. So append takes one argument, but let us try to article say description. Okay, so maybe I can put it in a tuple, and let me just print list of news like this. Run it. So this particular list of news is you can look through it in this part of code. You can either generate CSV, you can generate Excel sheet, you can generate put it into database as well. So I'll show you how it looks like. This is not there. So I'm trying to access something which is not there because there was a spelling mistake. You can see that it takes some time because it's fetching data from uh, this particular. Yeah, you can see now I have put it in the list, right? So if you look at say this particular element, you can see that this is a list of tuples or tuples. So this part is your title,
Right.
and this part is your uh, description. So In fact, you can use CSV library to put it in CSV. So if you're using pandas, it's much easier. You can, uh, in order to organize it even better, you can probably, make it like a dictionary, and you can also say list of news like this. Make key as articles title. Uh, this entire thing, you can make it as the key, and you can, okay, so this is a dictionary, so you can either make it on the fly, you can make it like this, title and article description. And you can add it to the this dictionary. So there is an um, function called as update. You can use this and put this little dictionary inside this big dictionary. So it becomes, so as in, so based on this, um, this one, so it keeps on appending it, and you can, this is a dictionary, so I had to remove this code. Now you can see I have put it in a dictionary. So you can see the sketch of one thing. Okay, here, probably, yeah, Robert audio, apples. So you see these columns. So it's columns. This means that this is the title and this is your uh, description. So in fact, you can convert, just go here, and now I have got hold of a dictionary. You can go here and say, pandas make dictionary into data frame. Okay, you can do this data snippet. We have got similarly like this. You can go here and probably you can do it like this. So where you'll get exactly what you need, and you'll get it in a tabular format. And once you have the data frame, you can actually, convert it into simply say PD, that data frame, PD to Excel or something like that, CSV, or there are functions like PD dot uh, Excel, I think, to Excel and so on. So this is how you can. So now um, you understood the data structure. So that is the most important thing, how the data is structured. I'm structuring in dictionary format, and I want to convert this dictionary into tabular structure. Key is in one column and this in one column. So that is my imagination. Now from there, where do I go? So you don't have to remember, you go here. In fact, you can go to ChatGPT and say, I have a dictionary like this. I want it to be in Excel sheet. So let us do that. Like, and do not be hesitating to use ChatGPT, because it feels like I'm not working, or I'm not. I'm sort of cheating, but it's not, because it's just like Google search. Nowadays it's ChatGPT. So there is a shift in our mental model. So I can do. Uh, I have Python. So you need to ask properly dictionary. So you can also make spelling mistakes. It will autocorrect it. Dictionary. Uh, I want to convert it to data frames using uh, pandas. Yeah, sorry for taking more time, this, but I want to close this question. Data frames using pandas, and then export it to XLS. UE code snippet. This is lovely, isn't it? So you can simply copy this and paste it here. And instead of this data, now you pass your, you can reassign list of news here, and let me try to execute it. What's okay? So I have some extra code here, which was not supposed to be here. So I have taken the dictionary, I have put the snippet here, and let us see how it works. If it works, if it doesn't work, you can ask ChatGPT to, what is this? If you're using, I got, so this is how you can, in fact, you can tell that. So this is a trace back, right? This is a bigger trace back that we saw so far. You can see this is the data, okay, but list of news is a dictionary, that is correct. Now you can start debugging, saying that, okay, what's happening here? So name, okay, I'll just say just key and one element, not the list in values. So it generates, so it automatically corrects it. You can see that. Yeah, I can copy this code and let us do it here. Let me get rid of all this code and paste it here. And I'll, instead of this, I'll assign my list of news, which is a dictionary. So this is not a right variable, so list of news, because it makes developer reader to think it as a list, but it's not a list, it's a dictionary. But yeah, for now, let us use this. Okay, now you can see that I got one more error here, saying no module named OpenPyXL. So it has actually converted it to data frame. Let me just put a breakpoint and show you how it looks like. Okay, so if you just press L, it will show you where it has stopped. Now you can see data frame. So this is a text. You can see that value and key. There is, just like Excel sheet, it has got index, value, and things like that. Okay, let us try to so this is this. Now we have written a tabular structure. You can export it to Excel, or you can export it to any tabular thing. Like you can also put it into SQL table and so on. So let us try to debug the error that we got. The error that we got is some library is not found. So pip install open PyXL, I think. Yeah. So this is a library. Internally, Pandas uses this library to make Excel sheets. So I have installed it. I'll run it once more. Let us stop there. Let me continue. Continue is C is for continue. Let's see, data is exported successfully. So let us see where it has exported. You can see that it's here. I can find out output file.xls. I can open, reveal it in here, and I can try to, okay, I'm using Mac, it's not supported, but yeah, you can actually open this in this. Okay, so yeah, you need to get this and use it, but yeah, this is the way to do it. So opening is not a big deal. So this is how you need to start writing code. So if you do not use the latest tools like ChatGPT and how to ask, so you cannot simply go and ask here, but you need to understand the data structures, like how the data is organized. That is the main thing of engineer, and writing code is a skill. And even more, you need to find out how to make things work. Like it's like putting the a puzzle, and use Google Stack Overflow. We have been using Google and Stack Overflow heavily. Now people are using Chat GPT, and do not directly come here and ask, say I have a website, I want this list of news. It will generate the code, but the thing is, next time when you come back and look at the code, you will get confused because there is no mental model of that data structure in your mind. So that is most important. Okay. So yeah, this is how you can use. This is about requests, etc., and then it is also about like how to convert it into different formats if you want it. Okay, we are 20 minutes past our time. Okay, any questions? Did it help?
Thank you, Digant. Yes.
Yeah,
Thank you.
great.